Dark Souls 3 really broke the mold when it first came out, and it's still satisfying to play even now in 2023. So for those of you looking to explore Lothric after experiencing the lands between in Elden Ring, you may find it a bit less forgiving in many respects. Today we're going to be taking a look at a handful of things that'll help you along your journey so you don't get burnt to a crisp with Dragon's Breath or held too close by a tiny dancer. Just like any From Software game, there are a few soul farming spots if you need some extra levels, as well as more than a handful of obscure side quests that are worthwhile and provide you with spells and loot that make life a bit easier. If you like the video, dropping a like really helps out the channel, and for more videos like this, you can click the subscribe button as well. So let's get ready to hunt down some Lords of Cinder, tell the Firekeeper, it's not the years, honey, it's the mileage, and get after it. One of the very first things you'll want to do in the interest of leveling up a bit faster is grab the Covetous Silver Serpent Ring that's well hidden in a chest behind an illusionary wall at the very top of Firelink Shrine. You can actually accomplish this feat early on by utilizing the ever-famous tree jump glitch, which revolves around a little hitbox abuse combined with the game's jump mechanic. This particular glitch saves you the headache of scraping together a whopping 20,000 souls for a tower key in order to get it the conventional way. You'll also be able to grab an early Estus shard, which can be given to Andre the Blacksmith for an additional Estus flask. Also in this area, you'll run into Picklepea the Crow, and while her true nest is above you, you can still trade with her here in the rafters. You won't have much to trade right away, but if you do make a trade, you'll pick up a gesture for the first time. After making a quick deal with Picklepea, you'll need to go to the back wall of the rafters where you can hit it, revealing that the rafter continues just a bit further. Once you follow the rafter to the very end and drop down, just look to your right where you'll notice a loot chest tucked away in the corner. Inside the chest is the Covetous Silver Serpent Ring, which grants you an additional 10% to souls gained from each fallen enemy, making your soul farming life that much sweeter. While not necessary, there is another task that's worth mentioning, which is confronting the Weapons Master found to the left of Firelink Shrine standing at the top of a staircase. You can lead him to the shrine entrance and slice him up in short bursts, but make sure you steer clear of his wide-reaching katana. Once defeated, he'll drop the Uchi Katana and the Master's Attire armor set. Like most Soul series games, soul farming is the quickest way to level up, and there just so happens to be one method very early on in the High Wall of Lothric that's fairly lucrative, but it does require a bit of setup right out of the gate. You'll have to first make your way down the stairs in front of you and travel a short distance through enemy territory in order to find a ladder that leads down to the lower level. If you defeat the Screeching Hollow right away, it makes the first run a bit easier. After turning the last hollow into a kebab, we'll make our way down the ladder and follow the linear hallway until we come outside to a wooden staircase on the left where a hollow carrying a shield stands in the way. Once the staircase is clear, you can head up top where the Lothric Wyvern will fly down and breathe fire, killing everything in the area, allowing you to absorb all of the souls. Now that the setup is complete, we can head back to the bonfire and start the actual farming run. From the bonfire, you can head back down the stairs and hug the left walkway all the way to the small winding staircase on your left. Make sure to get there quickly or the Screeching Hollow coming up the stairs will wake all the sleepy neighbors. Once up the stairs, you'll have to quickly dispatch the Screeching Hollow in front of you and then walk over to stand in front of the battlements until the Wyvern takes notice of you. Once you're in the Wyvern's sights, it'll breathe fire all over the hollows below you, granting you the souls from all those kills. After that's complete, you can bat clean up in the area and clear out all the remaining hollows. With the Silver Serpent Ring on you, you can rake in quite a few souls to help in your initial push through the castle. It may take a few runs to get the hang of it, but at least you're close to the bonfire in case you die trying. Once up the stairs, you can rest at the fire and rinse and repeat the process. There is another piece of loot that you can grab very early on that helps a metric ton with farming, but it'll require some undead hunter charms and a little bit of save game hack trickery. This unique loot can be found at the bottom of the tower just below the Wyvern. Once at the bottom, you can see a chest which is really a mimic that'll have you for a midday snack if you try to open it. Instead, just throw an undead hunter charm on it, which will allow you to loot it safely. There are only 2 undead hunter charms found in the high wall, so make sure before you attempt this, you upload your save data to the cloud so you can continue this method. Each mimic in the game has a chance to drop the symbol of Avarice, which is the best helm for farming anything in the game, with a bit of a catch. This grotesque helm absorbs 50% more souls and adds 100 to your item discovery at the cost of 10 hit points per second. This item also stacks with the 10% granted by the Silver Serpent Ring. With the style of From Software's convoluted and cryptic side quests, it's far too easy to overlook some of the hidden quests throughout the game. One of the first hidden quests, and one that's easy to fail throughout its entire course, revolves around Greyrat of the Undead Settlement, who you'll have to rescue from the bowels of the High Wall. You'll first have to grab the cell key, which is buried behind a host of enemies, and then backtrack all the way to another area of the map to unlock the prison cell to have a chat with him. Once you accept the terms of his agreement, he'll be available as a merchant in Firelink Shrine for most of the game unless you make a mistake and he dies early. At the end of his quest line, you'll receive the Horsehoof Ring, but not to worry. If you mess this one up, you can always kill patches for it before completing the game. One of the easier quests that can be started in Firelink Shrine rests with the fugitive Hawkwood, whose story's fairly easy to follow, and it'll come to an end after the completion of Archdragon Peak. Also in Firelink Shrine, you can find Leonard, who provides you with cracked red-eye orbs, which are utilized to invade other players. He'll also send you on a mission in the High Wall to get a complete red-eye orb from a basement prison. While his questline can be completed early, if you don't want to ruin another NPC's questline, it's best to save this one till the end. Perhaps one of the most important quest lines that has a far-reaching impact on one of the game's endings is Yoel of Londor. Yoel can be found at the end of a broken bridge towards the very beginning of the Undead Settlement, and if you aren't really searching each corner of the map obsessively, there's a good chance you'll miss him. Once you accept him into your service, he'll return to Firelink Shrine as a vendor with a bit of a twist. Yoel has the ability to draw out your true strength and turn you into a hollow, giving you some free levels upon death, but everything has its price. You'll have to complete the hollowing process until you have at least 5 dark sigils, and Yoel mentions that you've reached ample strength. Make sure to complete this portion before killing the Abyss Watchers and proceeding to the Hanging Bridge in the Catacombs of Karthus. Eventually, Yuria will take up the torch for the quest, which requires some more obscure actions. There are also NPCs within the lands of Lothric that don't necessarily have elaborate quests, but are necessary for some spells and gear. One of the prime examples is Cornyx of the Great Swamp, who's an old pyromancer you'll find after chopping your way through the Undead Settlement. After accepting him into your service, he'll become a vendor in Firelink Shrine, and you'll be able to learn pyromancies from him, as well as give him pyromancy tomes you come across in your travels. The tomes will unlock a host of new spells for you to purchase to get your flame on. The next quest we'll touch on is the story of Irina and Egon of Karim, who you'll also find in the Undead Settlement. After chopping your way to the old church, you'll see Egon perched on the rocks close to his cell door within the cliff face. You won't really get much out of him except for spit and insults, and it's yet another example of From Software's quest obscurity. While you would normally have to get a key and unlock the cell from a completely different location, you can actually just jump into the ravine right behind Egon if you have the hit points for it. Once at the bottom of the ravine, you'll make your first right into a small room where you'll have to fight a few rats that seem to keep coming. After chopping up the rats, you'll climb up a short ladder to find Irina of Karim sitting in a candlelit cell. After speaking with her, she'll become a miracle vendor in Firelink Shrine in order to dial up your faith builds. Irina isn't really overly hard to find, but it's one of those quests you can easily mess up, which will end up with her corrupted and dead. Just make sure to keep the dark tomes away from Irina and save them for Carla the Witch. Just past your meeting with Egon and Irina, you'll come across Sigurd of Katarina, who's a rather odd yet powerful knight that sounds suspiciously like Alexander the Warrior Jar. Sigurd's quest is rather in-depth, and finding this knight throughout the game can be quite a chore. From the elevator acrobatics you'll need to perform in order to assist him with a demon fight, to finding him stuck in a well in the Cathedral of the Deep. You'll also run into him in a kitchen in Irithyll napping in front of a fire, and have to rescue him from a cell in Irithyll dungeons. It's all worth it in the end though, since completing his quest line ends with a rewarding cutscene and a partner to fight Yorm the Giant. The next NPC we'll be taking a brief look at is Anri of Astoria and her silent friend Horus, who you don't have to search high and low for. However, her questline is full of pitfalls and is rather long and involved. You'll meet her in a series of different places in the game, such as Firelink Shrine, as well as 2 separate spots in the Catacombs of Karthus. Following her questline will grant you the Ring of the Evil Eye, and it also reaches a point where you'll have to decide if you want to follow her questline or choose the Yuria questline for the Usurpation of Fire Ending. Another side quest NPC that's easy to find is Cirrus of the Sunless Realm, who'll introduce herself to you in Firelink Shrine after reaching the Road of Sacrifices and talking to Anri and Horus. You'll meet her again in Irithyll of the Boreal Valley via a summon sign on the bridge to face off against a Dark Invader. Cirrus is the sworn enemy of Rosaria's Covenant, so joining Rosaria's Fingers or even summoning Yellowfinger Hazel during the Abyss Watcher fight will completely tank Cirrus's questline. After the fight on the bridge, which is another quest nuance that's impossible to find unless you're searching every corner of the map, Cirrus will give you the Silver Cat Ring and the Blessed Mailbreaker for your troubles. Her quest does continue on to a rather awesome and shocking ending. Just be sure not to do anything to contradict her values, or she'll meet up with you in Firelink Shrine to tell you that things aren't going to work out. You can find Orbeck of Vinheim tucked away on the Road of Sacrifices on the second floor of the ruins right before the Crystal Sage boss area. Like other companions, he'll relocate to Firelink Shrine after you've had a conversation with him, which actually requires you to have a 10 or greater intelligence. Orbeck does have one condition, however. All he requires is that you bring him scrolls so he's not overly bored in Firelink Shrine. The first scroll you can grab is the Sage's Scroll, which is located on a mushroom island to the left of the Keep Ruins bonfire after exiting towards the Stone Gate. The island is guarded by some enemies and surrounded by a thick poisonous swamp, but it really isn't a heavy lift to just run in and grab it. The Golden Scroll also happens to be hidden in the swamps of Farron Keep, but it's a little deeper and far off natural lines of drift. It's surrounded by curse-breathing frogs, and after lowering the frog population in the area, the scroll can be found tucked away in a small cave along the zone wall. Logan's Scroll is dropped from an NPC sorcerer located on the rooftop of a church that's sunk into the toxic swamp of the profaned capital. You can either head up to the rooftop and dispatch him with cold steel, or if you're having trouble, you can fire arrows at him from a wooden platform across from the church. The final scroll is found through normal story progression after storming the Grand Archives and bringing an end to the Crystal Sage enemy, after catching up with him, of course. Keep in mind that fighting your way through the Archives to get to him won't be terribly easy since there's quite a few enemies on your path. You can speak with Orbeck after buying 3 sorceries and handing him one of the scrolls, and he'll respond by handing you the Young Dragon Ring. He'll also provide you with the Slumbering Dragon Crest Ring and the Silent Ally Gesture once you buy the Farron Flash Sword, Pestilence Mist, Decoy, and Spook. If you've ever played Armored Core or any other Soul series games, you've likely come across some form of the NPC named Patches, who will always try to eliminate you in the most cowardly way and then beg for his life after you survive and confront him. You'll first come across him in the Cathedral of the Deep, posing as your old pal Sigurd of Catarina. He'll spawn in the area after opening the main doors, which needs to be done prior to lighting Rosaria's bonfire. He'll lure you into a trap, of course, and after crossing the rafters above and dropping down on the other side to confront him, he'll feed you a hot steaming cup of some usual Patches BS. By choosing the You Know Who I Am option, you'll receive the prostration gesture and a rusted coin from him before he returns to Firelink as your shadiest vendor. If you're following Sigurd's quest line, you can buy Sigurd's armor back from Patches as well. He still can't be trusted, and he'll prove it time and time again. The good news is, at the end of your playthrough, if you've failed Grey Rat's quest, you can kill Patches to receive the Horsehoof Ring, or you can just kill him because he's an annoying scumbag. Another NPC that's in a rather obscure location is Carla the Witch, who you'll find sitting in the corner of a locked cell in Irithyll Dungeon. The key to her cell is on a jailer's key ring, which is found in the profaned capital near where you'll rescue Sigurd from in his cell at the end of a long corridor. Once you rescue her, she returns to Firelink Shrine as a vendor and can be found in an alcove underneath Andre the Blacksmith. It's important to note that she'll be able to translate the Dark Braille tomes in order to preserve the good ending for Irina's questline, as well as translate the Pyromancy tome from the Witch of Izalith. Along with keeping your eye out for NPCs in your travels, there are a few pieces of choice farming loot you should be on the hunt for as well, so you can go full send on item or soul farming. One of the ones you could potentially miss is the Crystal Rapier, which you can grab after handing over the Kiln of Transposition once the Curse-Rotted Greatwood is defeated. After you've unlocked the use of the Kiln, you can purchase the Rapier for the soul of the Crystal Sage. When equipped in an active slot, it'll increase your item discovery by 50, which makes farming Covenant items offline just a bit easier. The next item is the Shield of Want, which is a bit further along in the game, and unless you make your way down to the Smoldering Lake, chances are you won't come across it. The shield, which belonged to King Vendrick from Dark Souls 2, is resting on a dead body underneath this giant worm that you'll come across at the very beginning of your trek through the lake. This particular shield increases souls gained by 20% and stacks with other items as well. If you wear the Covetous Silver Serpent Ring and the symbol of Avarice as well, it'll increase your souls gained by 98%, which is a pretty big deal when farming souls later on in the playthrough. Another item you'll want to keep an eye out for, or ironically farm, is the Medicant Staff, which is dropped by the Man-Serpent Summoners in the Great Belfry of Archdragon Peak. This item stacks with all the aforementioned soul farming items, and when utilizing them all, you can increase your souls gained by 237%. If you're looking to soul farm in bulk, this complete item stack is more than sufficient to dramatically speed up the process. The last item is the Covetous Gold Serpent Ring, which can be found in the Profane Capital in the same cell you rescued Sigurd of Canarina from if you followed his questline. You don't have to follow the questline to actually attain the ring, but the quest does lead you right to it. The ring increases item discovery by 50, and it's one of those must-have items if you're planning to farm Covenant items offline to attain the highest favor for all of them. Now that we've covered the gear, let's talk some farming spots that are extremely worthwhile to utilize. The first location is within Irithyll of the Boreal Valley, and as you can see from the game footage, it starts at the Distant Manor bonfire. From the bonfire, it's a bit of a jog to a sewer entrance where you'll spend a majority of your time slicing up a handful of sewer centipedes, which at first glance look like the body of a drowned woman. They're extremely easy to kill throughout the farming run, but if one does get the jump on you, you can expect a series of melee attacks from their appendages and a toxic breath stream. It's the best farming location at this point in the game, and it can help you power up a bit before heading down into the Irithyll dungeons. Once you wipe out all of the centipedes in the area, all that's left to do is head back to the bonfire and rinse and repeat the process. The next stop is the Lothric Castle bonfire, which is unlocked after defeating the Dancer of the Boreal Valley. And to be honest, the only thing that's more satisfying than that kill is filling a Sam's Club mayonnaise jar with vanilla pudding and eating it in public with your bare hands. This farming location is extremely simple, and it only requires you to kill one knight and then reset at the bonfire to rinse and repeat the process. The underlying bonus at this location is that you can collect a giant supply of large Titanite shards and large Titanite chunks, as well as sunlight metals while you rake in a ton of souls. These metals are used to rank up in the Warriors of Sunlight Covenant, which can be offered at the Sunlight Altar behind the wooden door right before the Dragon Slayer armor fight. The rewards for handing in the metals to this covenant are the Sacred Oath and Great Lightning Spear miracles. The bad news is that the drop rate for these metals is around 2% from Lothric Knights in the area. However, if you do a large amount of soul farming in this area, and you're using the symbol of Avarice and the Covetous Gold Serpent Ring, you should fill up on them without a problem. The next soul farming method, and by far the best one in the game, is located at the very top of the Grand Archives and can be easily completed once you unlock the lift next to the Grand Archives bonfire. This one is pretty straightforward as well, and while it may seem like quite a bit of running, it's extremely worth it in the long run. As you follow the game footage, it's important to note that one spell that makes this farming run quick and painless is Rapport, which can be purchased from Carla the Witch for 7,000 souls after handing her the Kulana Pyromancy Tome. By casting Rapport on the knights, they become a charmed, temporary ally, which you can either use to kill the other winged knights or just repeatedly backstab them until complete. Your goal here is to eliminate 3 winged knights on the rooftop, and then either use a homeward bone or the coiled sword fragment to teleport back to the bonfire. Yet another useful tool that makes this process quick if you like going the melee route is the Irithyll Rapier, which is dropped by the Outrider Knight in Lothric Castle. He can actually be found in the room below the Twin Dragons. This particular weapon causes 55 frostbite buildup per hit, which helps out immensely since the knights are extremely weak to frostbite and thrust damage. With all of the knights destroyed and the rooftop secure, we'll teleport back to the bonfire to start our next attack run. Well folks, it looks like we're coming to the end of another Dark Souls 3 video as we continue to revisit Lothric in 2023. We would like to take this time to personally thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed the video and want more content like it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss out on any new mid-40s gamer content. And if you aren't too busy wondering why kangaroos keep growing until they die, leave us a comment in the comment section and let us know how we're doing. So until next time, just remember, a staff psychologist reviewed every Thundercats script for a strong moral lesson. Cobra Commander was a used car salesman, and as always, good hunting.